I can't speak specifically because I haven't looked at the research that they have, but we know for a fact now, just the minimum wage last year, regardless of what your position might be on whether or not somebody should have make higher wages. Everybody wants to be, have employees lifted up, have the state grow. But the reality has been there are consequences. I just met with a small business owner last week. In the last 7 years, his expenses have risen by $117,000. His revenue has increased by $80,000. That's a $37,000 difference. That not including the minimum wage, which goes up. His response to the minimum wage was an $11 an hour employee retired, left the place. He's not going to replace that. He's going to replace it with a minimum wage person. And so he is recouping some of those costs. These are the issues that real business owners face. They have to meet the paycheck. They have to pay their employees. And it's another mandate that limits that flexibility.
Well, now we heard some of the arguments with the minimum wage issue last year that businesses were going to have to close up shop because of it. We haven't really seen a wholesale closing of businesses across the state because of minimum wage.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, what happens is one job at a time, a job is lost. One time, each and every year, employees don't get the raises that they might otherwise get. Instead of a 3% raise, maybe they get a 1 or 2% raise. As an employee retires at $11 an hour with health benefits, it's replaced by now a minimum wage worker.
So there is an impact, even though we're not seeing it in dramatic fashion.
You can see it day in and day out, one job at a time across Ohio. And it is making us less competitive in terms of attracting high-quality business and employers in the state.
When we talk about the minimum wage issue, there were a lot of problems with implementing it, and even the smoking ban. There were some problems with implementing that as well. With those things in mind, is this the best idea to take to voters now with all the problems that have come about with those things?
We feel strongly this is an idea whose time has come. This is a compelling issue in people's lives, and with all due respect to Ty, facts matter. And we've just heard a set of assertions, not facts, not analysis, not data. And two things in particular. Number one, our legislation specifically exempts mom and pop and small businesses with less than 25 employees. It's important to note that. Secondly, national analysis and research shows that the cost of adopting this is less than 40 cents per employee per day, less than what it costs to mail a letter in this country. This is an incredibly cost-effective, responsible solution to a crisis for millions of hardworking, middle-class Ohioans. And I think there's an underlying issue here about, do we want to have high road or low road strategies in the state of Ohio? Despite everything Ty would like to refer to, the simple fact is good middle-class jobs are disappearing, and the problem is not the minimum wage, and the problem won't be some paid sick days. But I think we have a chance here, literally, to become the most family-friendly state in the country for people to work in, to do it in an incredibly cost-effective way that in the long run will boost productivity because we're not spreading contagious diseases at work. People are caring for their children and their families. People are more motivated and happier to go to their jobs. And I think we should resist the sky is falling kind of rhetoric, and let's talk about facts and not assertions.
These mandates, though, do, piecemeal add up after a while. Minimum wage, this one, and whatever's next coming after this one. So these things do add up in terms of the cost of doing business.
I think it's important to note that there's a cost to not doing what we're suggesting. And nationally, that cost is put at $180 billion a year because of the cost of sick employees coming to work who, as Ty said, could get fired if they don't. The cost of people not caring for their children, the cost of low productivity. So the notion that not doing anything is free is just wrong. And I think when you examine all of the evidence and all of the facts, this is an incredible opportunity we have, and for the first time, Ohio could be on the cutting edge of positive change as opposed to lagging changes that we see across our country and in our society.
And what about that idea of lost productivity, that if people come to work sick, we know they don't get anything done?
There are absolutely positive impacts that occur out of this. on a limited scale. The net result is increased expenses, increased administrative burdens on employers. At the end of the day, again, it will be another reason for an employer not to be able to make a profit in the state of Ohio. There are not employers that exist today to lose money. Once they have enough years, they go out of business. What we're seeing in Ohio, and not just on the specific issues, is that employers don't want to come to Ohio. It is very unfortunate right now. Part of the reason is they know that groups like the SEIU and others are willing to bypass the tradition to practice of going before the legislature and talking and putting things straight to the voters. It is a very risky business to start a business, particularly a smaller business to begin with, and they're making it much more difficult to attract employers. We do have a huge opportunity here to create jobs. It would be in the form of creating lower taxes and creating a friendlier work environment, employer environment by the state of Ohio. There are many things that we can do. But still keep the flexibility in the workplace, again, for an individual who may value vacation time versus paid sick leave, who may value personal time where they don't have to get a doctor's note. They may value the fact that all those could be bundled into just generic personal days, that if I want to take a sick day, a vacation day or anything, this eliminates that. It also would put into place, because of lawsuits, and I think we've discussed on the show before the idea of lawsuits and frivolous lawsuits. Undoubtedly, there will be employers that document, do their best, don't perhaps meet the goal of keeping good timesheets, and they will be sued by employers. So there are going to be administrative burdens, there are going to be cost burdens. I did a quick math, just minimum wage times a full-time worker per year, just under $400. So if you're, and I didn't do the math here, but 25 employees, you're talking $10,000 to $12,000 or so per employer across the state, times 300,000, millions and millions of dollars lost, not to include, again, any administrative burdens. This is not a way to grow Ohio's economy. What we need to be doing is focusing on jobs, creating an environment where employers can succeed, and they will lift up all workers as they grow as well.
Now, I know the minimum wage just went into effect fairly recently, so we haven't had a whole lot of time to see the impact, but we haven't seen a lot of lawsuits. We haven't seen a lot of some of the things that you were predicting back when the minimum wage was on the ballot.
Well, as you just mentioned, the law went into effect. We passed House Bill 690. It went before the court and other things. Right now, it is new. Undoubtedly, there will be challenges, whether or not the wage applies to different types of workers. Certainly, in terms of record keeping and access, we have not had those yet. But as you know, it takes time for the law to go into effect and workers to find themselves in a situation where it would warrant a lawsuit. In terms of cost, absolutely. And again, I heard this on the radios, but I certainly can't take it for fact. But my understanding is that Kings Island down in Cincinnati, for example, used to have a program where they would drive a bus down to the inner city parts of Cincinnati and bring less fortunate folks up to Kings Island and pay them a minimum wage so they could get an opportunity to work and learn. They have eliminated that program because of the increased cost. I just mentioned the employer who told me quite specifically, anecdotal of course, he's not going to be able to replace that higher worker, and now that it's at 685, he's going to replace it with one instead of two employees. So there are real-world ramifications. Administrative costs, we haven't surveyed. Again, the law is so new on minimum wage. But you have to look no further than the state of Ohio. We're 49th in attracting employers and new jobs. And the best way we can, if it's up to the SEIU right now, the best way to do that is increase burdens on employers.